Patty Bowers of the 17th Airport Association wants to remind us of Operation Varsity, which happened on March 24th, 1945. The largest single-day, one-day airport operation in history. 2 divisions dropped on the east shore of the Rhine, and their job was to hold several bridges on the Rhine River to keep the Germans from crossing. There was a little mix-up on who would land and where, but in general, it was a very big success with minimal losses, and it really helped stop the war. So, on the 24th and 25th down the steamboat down in Lancashire, they're having a reunion, and you're welcome to stop in and see them. They do a nice job, all sorts of interesting stuff down there, and she's available if you want to chat about it. Where are you, Patty? Back there. Stand up. That's Patty. Okay, sit down. Check her out after the meeting, and she'll tell you more about it. What else happened? Okay, March 1945. You're going to hear more about this in a little while from our speaker, but I just couldn't resist. I just read a book about it, and it just really gripped me how important Iwo Jima was to us. We didn't know at the time what was going to happen within a couple of months, but our bombers were flying across the Pacific to bomb Japan, and every time they did it, they got the heck beat out of them by Japanese aircraft that were flying out of Iwo Jima. So the United States says, we've got to have that little place. It's only 8 square miles, can't be too hard. So they brought the Navy in, and for several months they just bombarded the hell out of it. And I was talking to a gentleman earlier who was on a ship bombarding it, and they said there probably weren't any more Japanese left. Well, guess what? There were. They sent the Marines in, and they had quite an engagement in March, actually in February, mid-February. But by the very beginning of March, they were starting to land airplanes, P-51s mostly, thinking that there weren't any more Japanese there. Well, guess what? Every night the Japanese would come out of the holes that they had dug into the mountain and just cause all kinds of problems. And so it was quite an interesting battle. The book I read was called The Last... Well, I remember it well. The Last Fighter Pilot. And he flew the last mission in World War II as well. And it's just a fantastic book, so I would encourage you to read it. But ultimately, we took over Iwo Jima, and ultimately, we were able to escort the bombers all the way to Japan. And of course, on February, in late February, the flag raising was raised, but that was not necessarily the end of the war. That was about the 5th or 8th day of the battle, and there was much more, wasn't there? So anyway, that's a little bit about that. Huge losses on both sides, but Iwo Jima was finally declared secured on March 16th. The Last Fighter Pilot is the name of it, and the book is very good. And that's all the announcements tonight. Now we're going to turn it over to Charlie Lloyd to tell you about forthcoming speakers and tonight's speaker, and we'll get on the way. How's that? A little shorter than last time?
Thank you, Kurt. Church as it will be short. That was it. Good evening and welcome. Glad to see such a nice turnout. I'm looking for Dan. Okay. Dan Ciccone is with the Penn Line, Patriot News, and we're working with Dan and our group. They're doing a series on veterans, and any World War II veteran who would like to be interviewed by Dan. I've talked to a couple of you interviewed. They say you do a good job, and they think the world of you. But the purpose is, for the next 6 months, I guess, we're going to be doing a series on World War II veterans. Is it all veterans?
All veterans.
All veterans.
Current conflict and any veterans.
That's fine. And any veterans in the audience tonight that would like to have Dan come to your house, interview you, videotape it, and then put it in the paper, we'd love to have you do it. Just let me know, and I'll set the appointment up with Dan. He's done several already, and I'm a little suspicious that my friend find this stuff out because I'm very protective of my veterans, our veterans. And we met with him for 2 hours, and he's an A-OK guy. He knows how to respect the veteran. So keep in mind, if any of our veterans are here, would like to meet with Dan at your house and have an article written up in the Harrisburg paper, please come and see me on that. Thank you, Dan. We appreciate the offer and the invitation. Thank you for what you do. You had another offer, and I'm looking for somebody I haven't met yet. Is Claude here? Claude, you with the Phillies?
Yes.
Okay. I got a call from Trey Flannery, and these guys are with the Post 12, okay, in Reading. And they're affiliated with the, I'm tiring you up with that, aren't I, with that camera? They're affiliated with the Reading Phillies, the home team, the farm team. And the offer they made to us, and I think is exceptional, is they would like to interview any World War II veteran with his biography and put it on the big screen at the stadium, and then have you come with your family, and they'll give you up to 10 seats. So you can come to Reading, put your picture on the screen, and an honor guard on the field, so you're recognized. And then after that, they fold the flag, military, and they present the flag to you. I think that's a rather unique opportunity, and I hope our veterans give us a call. And through night games, day games, Sundays?
They're mostly night games.
Night games. So you'll be responsible to get there. Your family will get you there. They'll meet you at the gate. We'll put you in the private box, and you'll be the center of attention for that night. And I guarantee you the Phillies will win if we send a veteran, so make sure you go there. Did I miss something?
They have a choice of dates,
Okay.
so they can choose a date of the schedule of the home games.
Okay. So we'll do that schedule, see, pick a date, and then we'll set it up and do it Charlie. We're happy to do that. Thank you for doing that. That's a wonderful offer for our veterans. Is Doug Riley here? Nope, not here. All right. Doug is the fellow that runs the reenactment over in Dillsbury every year. It's a great show. You should go to it. And he's the one to help me get the speaker for April, Ben Jenkins, who was a weapons control officer on B-29 out of Guam. So he'll be here in April to share his story with us. And I also have a fellow here. Let me do just a second. I have another ping jockey here. Dick Donald's the speaker. He's a ping jockey. And right behind him, Ken, raise your hand or stand up. Ken Fiddler spoke for us last year. What are the odds of getting two ping jockeys? That's amazing. Thank you, Ken, for you. And we're going to learn more about you tonight. Make sure you tell the truth. You're in a church. If you don't tell the truth, lightning will strike you. And that's it. I think I've got everything. Kirk is saying, move it along, Charlie, move it along. My family came from Wales, 1860. Landed at Ellis Island. From there they went to Haslam. My other grandfather, my grandfather was born there. And from there they went to Danville, which was the heart of the iron country. My great-grandfather was a mining engineer. In genealogy, I found my great-great-aunt buried in Danville on Frosty Acres in an old German church. And I took a rubbing. Now, thanks to Barb and Bev and Michelle, we're talking to people up in that area, and this is a result of that. So I visit my aunt's grave, and I drive 5 minutes, and I go to see this guy. So that's a whole cycle coming from Wales, and you're not Welsh. Here you are? Okay. St. David's Day. Happy St. David's Day. Did you bring me any daffodils? No? Okay. So we have Dick Donald here, Professor Emeritus, and I've met with him a couple times. Actually, who did most of the work? Is Chris here? Chris Huffman, our historian, he wrote like 6 pages. So he got your history down good so we'd be prepared. And Chris will come over and say hello then. So I'm not going to steal any of his thunder, but I give you Dick Donald, Professor Emeritus from Bloomsburg University.
I really want to know I'm honored. I'm honored to be here with you. And I hope I live up to your expectations. You, Timo, I was scared. I was frightened. But I'm far more scared right here in front of you people tonight. I have to introduce some people first. First of all, part of my Dirty Dozen group. We're down to the ugly 3 right here. They go with me every place I go, 10 or 12 of them. Without them, my knees would really be jumping and jiving. And another person I must recognize, I have to recognize Ken Fiddler again, who come all the way from Lancaster to hear another big jockey. He just finished this book, and he was good enough to give me the book. And I'm extremely emotional. This brought me to tears. That you would think so much all the way from Lancaster. Big jockey is not a nice word. In the Navy, we have names, not in this church. The poor deckhands were called decades. The engineers were called snipes. Everything, and a lot more words than that, which we don't mention tonight. But this is typical of the Navy, typical of the service, really. I'll be bouncing around up front here. I have to show you something. I used to know this fellow a long time ago. If you want to see dumb, right here. Quit school. Couldn't wait to get the Navy. The Navy only. Don't mention Marines or Army to me. The Navy only. I was so afraid the war would be over. Most of my classmates also. If you had a class of 90 people graduating from high school, you may have had 85 girls and 5 guys. Aboard my ship of 210 guys, I'll bet you almost 200 were all dropouts in school. We were dropouts. I was also so afraid of not getting into a battle. I had to get into a battle. And I did, 7 altogether. But once you've been in one, it's like a very bad marriage. You never want to get into another, ever again, before and after. I have a lot of memorabilia to share with you. These are some of the talks I give. My experience in the Navy. The Great Depression, that's what made us great. I know what it is to go hungry. I know what it is to wear hand-me-down clothes, which were much too big for me. I worship a uncle of mine. I got his clothes. I'd wear it to school, the kids would make fun of me. Remember Dolly Parton? And the coat her mother made? I had that. Constantly. But I was so proud to have his coat on. Or his trousers. He was like an older brother to me. I was born and raised in the miner shack. No utilities. Stacks made by the company miners who weren't concerned about comfort. Just put them up. They weren't concerned about square. No utilities, no radios. In the winter, we had to close. We had 2 bedrooms. We had to close one because of the cold. There'd be 8 of us in 1 bedroom. 2 beds and a crib rather. My father managed to keep the crib full. Yes, indeed. The chamber pot would freeze at night. I know, because I was the oldest. It was my job to take it to the outhouse in the morning. If you ever saw the magnificent movie Dr. Zhivago, where they would wake up in Siberia and all the windows would be frosted, we thought it was beautiful. To me, we were inside of a church. We had church windows, believe it or not. I'm walking to the school bus in shoes that didn't fit. Daily was no fun. I worked in the coal mines from the time I was 10. First was the bootleg hole with my dad. Then I used to work in the mines at night and joined the mine workers at 16. They knew I was only 16. I'd work at night in the mines and go to school during the day only when I felt like it. I probably have the record for absenteeism. Working with people, the greatest people on earth. Most of them couldn't read or write. Every one of them carried a pocket watch. They were so proud. And we youngsters who would want to tease them would say, "What time is it so-and-so?" They didn't know. They'd show you the watch. They'd say, right here, right here. I worked in the mines until I was 30, until I got seriously injured. And then at that age, with a wife and a kid, of all things, decided to go to college. People really made fun of this old guy. 30 years of age, a wife and a kid, especially my father. My father was an alcoholic. I found him at a nearby bar and I told him I'd take an aptitude test. And the counselor insisted I go to college. I said I'd never make it. I didn't study in school. I hated school. He said, "I gave you a college entrance exam. You can go to any college in the world. Where are you going to go?" At 30, where am I going to go? Off the top of my head, to keep him happy, I said, "East Stroudsburg." And he said, "I'll be down there next year in the fall. And if you're not on the dean's list, I'm going to kick your new home." I won't mention in church what he's going to kick. He did check on me. And I was on the dean's list. And I finished in 3 years instead of 4. Then through scholarships, I ended up getting several more degrees and taught at Kansas State and Penn State, finally retired from Bloomsburg University. That's a long trip from inside a coal mine, where waiting for the ceiling to fall at any time, and it did, to you're safe and sound. The only problem with that, I can find nothing to complain about. Nothing to complain about. Happiness. Working with youngsters and young people who I absolutely loved. I'm sure that the feeling was mutual. Of course, boot camp, sonar school. I don't have my last one. The war was over. That's where the tough part began. I lost the second war. I became a hopeless drunk. I needed help. I needed psychological help. And I found it. I found it at an Irish bar. And that's where I lived, night and day. and did all the things you're not supposed to do in that bar. That was my home. I needed help. The rest of us needed help. Even today, the suicide rates of veterans. I've been there. Lost everything. Why did I go to college? Did I have another choice? People would say to me today about receptacles. We had no receptacles. We didn't need receptacles. We had one bare light hanging from the ceiling. That was our only need. One need, one light per room. I have some things to share with you. Of course, this is the end of the war. This is Times Square. There was one massive party, coast to coast, from people were so sick of war and having their kids brought home in boxes. Neighbors, relatives in boxes. Young kids. I was 19. Most of us were 18 or 19 years of age. While they were having their parties, East Coast to West Coast, we were out in the Pacific. And during the broadcast, we were under attack by some Japanese pilots who didn't want to believe the war was over. We were under a kamikaze attack. Admiral Halsey was speaking to us and thanking us for our service, and all of a sudden we're under attack. Thank goodness we did away with them. I run a breakfast for 55 veterans. Vietnam, World War II. And one of the finest fellows I had was hit twice in Vietnam. Hit twice. Bob Smith. Whenever he's with me, he tells people that this is his mother, and that's me. And I tell Bob, if I could do a better job with your mother than you, forget about it. I have some things to share with you. Oh, first of all, this is my pet. This is from Air Force One. I got it from a pilot who just retired, by the way. And this is Candy from Air Force One. Steve, you told me, my helper, show this side first, and then show this side with the M&Ms. M&Ms, believe it or not, Air Force One. I have the three most famous ships of World War II. The Arizona, the beginning of the war, a little over 600 feet long. It was hit several times, but the final bomb hit the power supply. You're talking about hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of tons of powder. Most ships, if you think of this, it's not often the bomb or the kamikaze plane, it's what you're carrying on the ship. We are all ammunition barges. One level with nothing but powder, torpedoes, you name it. When they get hit, everything goes up. Fire, explosion, what have you. When it hit that power supply, it was so strong, it lifted the Arizona 3 feet above the water and broke it in half. The heat was so great, it actually vaporized some of the steel compartments where the decks actually joined together. All they found from the captain was his ring from the Annapolis. He was vaporized. All they found from the admiral was his buttons. He was vaporized along with many in the crew. The heat is usually intense when a ship goes up, especially aircraft carriers with airplane fuel. You don't stand a chance. This is the Missouri where we signed the peace treaty. a Japanese harbor, a Tokyo harbor, I should say. In fact, this is from the deck of the Missouri. Beginning the end of the war, this is teakwood that never rots. And this was made for me by a boatswain mate from the battleship Missouri. There's my earphones I would wear as a thing jockey. My rating as a first-class petty officer, and of course, this is the Missouri. I even have part of the deck. Yeah. Where is it? Right here. This is from the Constitution. Old Ironsides. The British called it Old Ironsides because they couldn't sink it. No matter what they fired at it, it just simply bounced off. I think I have the size of the planking. 7-inch oak. 7-inch oak from the New England forest. The British are coming. The British are coming. He made the spikes. He made the copper. The outside, the bottom of the hole was covered with copper. And he made all of those. And recently they were renewing some of the copper, some of the spikes. And if you go up to Boston, you can sign some of the pieces that will be put on display. This is old Ironsides. I have sands of Iwo Jima. That's what that volcanic sands. I'll be talking about that in a few minutes. This is Omaha Beach. Jack and I were over there 4 years ago. Jack is the owner of the fantastic military museum in Sonestown, Pennsylvania. We're going to double the size in the spring. And I do quite a bit of speaking for Jack and one of my best friends. We were over there 4 years ago and did an entire tour. We followed the Band of Brothers. We followed the Band of Brothers, and when they first landed, we went through the Battle of the Balls, Jack. That sand, in fact, I just read it. Ernie Pyle was on Omaha Beach, D-Day +1. And the sand was red. But it was littered with elephants, and heads, and arms, and legs. Military weapons aren't kind to bodies. They tear bodies apart. They just don't make holes. But another thing was littered with the beach and the ocean, Bibles. They were all given a Bible the night before the invasion. And their Bibles all over the beach. Also writing paper. Writing paper. And finally, cartons and cartons of cigarettes. They were each given a carton of cigarette the night before the invasion. And those cartons were all over the beach and also in the water. This D-Day +1. Now let's get to Iwo Jima. We bombarded the island for 72 days. And it was decided by the experts there's nobody alive on that island. Nobody. After 72 days of 24-hour round, we were out with 10 aircraft carriers, 10 miles off Iwo Jima. 4 got hit this night. And those planes were just like great big trucks. They take a load and dump it, come back, get a load and dump it around the clock. D-Day. The Marines hit the beach. And now we have a killing field. Suddenly, the island became alive. Those Japanese were hiding in tunnels beneath the surface, far down. It wasn't one time a volcanic mine. Iwo Jima means sulfur, sulfur island. You could smell it from the distance. They had no fresh water. They had to bring the water in from Japan. And I wrote an article about just a few months back, we had almost 400 ships. The island was 2.5 miles wide, five miles long. Why couldn't we blockade that island and cut off the water? How long would they last? 20,000 troops without water. But we invaded with those poor Marines. And the Japanese had the beach marked off in squares. And all the guns were commanded from Mount Suribachi, the top of the mountain, to a certain spot. And they wiped out, practically that very first landing. We were 10 miles out at sea, and we were attacked by 65 kamikaze planes. 5 came directly at us. We knocked 3 down. 1 bounced off the carrier Anzio and set it on fire. The Saratoga, the grand old lady, was hit that night from the back of the States, never to return. The St. Paul, the new St. Paul, because the other one was hit with the first kamikaze plane in the Battle of Samar. That's the greatest ship-on-ship battle in history. I was in that one. I was in Iwo Jima, Okinawa, the 2 greatest battles in history with the Marines. One came between our ship, the port side. We were escorting the Bismarck Sea, 5 weeks. 1 came between our ship and the Bismarck Sea and came around excellent pilots and flew in to the gas supply, the fuel supply, airplane fuel. This is the Bismarck Sea. When it hit that airplane fuel, only one thing happened. The whole back end of that carrier was on fire, and we had flames reaching 100 feet in the air. You can see them from Iwo Jima 10 miles away. The night sky came like a baseball game. It was just like visiting a huge big league ball game. Everything was light. The second plane flew over the flight deck and went into the hangar deck. That's 1 deck below where they refuel the planes, put ammunition on whatever has to be done, they send it back up and they park them on the main deck and cause chaos there. These are some of the planes on fire. These are torpedo planes, and they're blowing up. One of my best friends got hit with shrapnel from his own torpedo planes. And he jumped off that deck, wounded, into the water 90 feet below. That's 9 stories. Nothing in my little valley has 9 stories. The Geisinger Hospital has 8 stories. Whenever I'm there, I'm thinking, what would it be like to jump from here to the water? And if you're not trained, properly trained to jump that distance in the water, you're not ever going to survive. Water is not soft. The pictures I have were taken from another carrier. But he got me a set of pictures and sent them to me. And he lived until most recent years as a postmaster in King of Prussia. This is the final death of the Bismarck Sea. Here it explodes. I promise that Ken take a look at this. This is the ships that went down off Okinawa, either hit or went down. And this whole thing is pictures of the ships, survivors, what have you. I promise I would like to have Ken look at this. Pass this back, please. What happened on our ship? Chaos. We were kids. We were running around we were scared to death. One fellow described seeing one of the kamikaze planes coming down by our ship. And he said the pilot, his lips were pulled way back in his mouth, he could see his teeth, and he was frightened to death. Totally frightened, but he knew that he'd do his duty. And that's the difference between fear and being a hero. Rickenbacker, the great racer, the ace pilot in World War I, said, without fear, you can't be a hero. You have to overcome your fear. You can't be a hero. I was up on the bridge, sonar, and the deckhands are running around accomplishing nothing. And here's this ship going down right alongside us. You can hear the screams of the guys. And I asked the captain, could I go down to the main deck and try to get things organized? And he said, please, go ahead. Which I did. On the way back, on the way by the radio shack right beneath our deck, one of my best friends, Paul Bortyak from Coalville, Pennsylvania, went along with me to the main deck. The motor whaleboat was hanging from the pulleys. Normally, this would take a minute to get. That was a major reason to save people, get the boat in the water. It was hanging from the pulleys of the davits. The bow up and in the pulleys, the stern and the motor in the water, totally helpless. I couldn't wait to help. Now what did I do? I hit the main deck. I ran the length of the main deck, went back to the stern. Being a great thinker, I immediately jumped into the water. Shoes, wristwatch, no life preserver, the whole thing. Bortnak, a lot smarter, got a little yellow dinghy. We used to rescue pilots. We used to call stern duty. When the pilot would miss the aircraft carrier, we would attempt to pick them up. Usually we were successful. But we always got the little yellow raft. So when we have occasional parties, we can use these crazy rafts. Very seldom indeed, we'd have swimming parties. And by the way, when you have a swimming party, you always had fellows with machine guns standing on the deck, because the Pacific is filled with sharks. But my thought was, who'd be more dangerous, that shark or those idiots with machine guns who hit the side of the ship? Paul tied the dinghy to the boat, and the way he goes with this dinghy, the little yellow raft, I'm in the water. And the minute I hit the water, I got scared. I got frightened. I start thinking. Sharks, especially in the Pacific, and they love young sailors. They love young sailors. Tender, sweet, what have you. Every so often I hear a scream. And I think, that's a shark. The explosions were unbelievable why I'm having trouble. Your 4th of July demonstrations would be like sparklers that we were told. Constant explosions with powder going off, torpedoes going off, planes exploding, and also an occasional cry. Some of the fellows were slipping off the ship. The ship was going down stern first and also turn this way. The guys trying to hold on, and we're falling off the side of the aircraft carrier. What I would do, I'd swim out so far and bring one of those guys in. I also thought of me being strafed. It was reported by other ships that we were being strafed by the shaft, which would be typical. And the answer is no. It's all these explosions, small arms going off. It's a terrible place to be. But I swim out so far, get a survivor, bring him back to my ship, then my shipmates would reach down and bring him aboard. During that time, I noticed a young sailor, extremely young, hanging from the anchor of that huge ship. You can't believe the size of the anchors. And in this service, you do everything by the hour. You eat at a certain hour or you don't eat. 10 o'clock lights out, sleep you're not. Everything by the hour. It must have been shower hour. Because he was naked. And we had our spotlights on him. And his skin looked like the whitest of ivory. And our gunnery officer was trying to talk him into, let go. We had been in the water, let go. Two of us in the water. Paul Horniak and myself, 2 cold crackers. And he'd scream back. He was terrorized. And he'd scream back, I can't swim. I can't swim. And then we tried talking to him again. And the last vision I have of that carrier going down stern first was hit at little after 6, was gone by 8 o'clock, that big carrier. The last vision I had, that ship going down, and that young kid hanging from the anchor. Why I have nightmares? Why I have dreams and I wake up and pray to go back to sleep? This is one of them. And they come often. And you don't, and everything is so vivid. Oh, my friend Paul, oh, what happened to him? His rope broke. And he went adrift in the Pacific Ocean. So after all of our rescue work, and we got settled down, we had to go in search of Paul. And sad to say, Paul was a brilliant, wonderful friend. My best friends in the service are closer than your own brothers back home. I mean, the best thing you can do to a friend is let them have the key to your locker. That's the most trusting of all. Both of us sat keys to each other's locker. Paul, like me, when he was discharged, he did help. Lots of help. And couldn't find any. Uncle Sam, when he needs you, he wants you. But when he's through with you, you're like a prostitute. You're no longer needed. You're no longer wanted. And Paul, that guy, did turn the trick. He ended up sleeping in abandoned factories, flop houses, and died at a very young age. No help, no Paul. That's my story. I thank you so much for your apt attention. If you have any questions, any questions?
Any questions, please?
Mr. Donovan, when did you actually enter the Navy?
1943. 43, come out in 46, went back in 50, came out in 52. I'd like to talk to you sometime about I was in the greatest storm in the history of the Navy. They call it Halsey's Typhoon, Typhoon Cobra, where we lost 3 ships. Almost 1,000 kids. And every time I see kids die in the service, or even now, I'm thinking about, what about the mothers back home? What about that young kid? What about the parents back home? I think about that. Now 43 to 46. Any other questions?
What ship were you on?
I was on DE-416. That's a destroyer escort. The Melvin R. Nauman, who was named after a hero Marine pilot. And we put it in commission in Houston, Texas. Some other came to Christian. They produced over 500 destroyer escorts. They were less than half the price of a destroyer. And we did away with the wolf pack in the North Atlantic. That solved the problems. It got to the point that Germans wouldn't go out on the subs. We wiped out half of the subfleet. We had 28 Medal of Honors on Iwo Jima, more than any other battle in history. We had some of the greatest people. Sergeant Bassel, who was a hero in Guadalajara Canal, he and several Marines wiped out a whole regiment of Japanese. So they sent him on a bond tour. And he wanted no part of that. He wanted to go back in the skies. And he came back to Iwo Jima, and that's where he was killed, a one-man army. A fellow by the name of Hedges from Coaldale, Pennsylvania, a captain on the beach. And by the way, when we went into the beach, we were hurt that same night, and we had to go into Iwo Jima. And we had to place our bow on the beach, they call it Yellow Beach, directly below Suribachi. And we could watch those Marines. And that's where I learned to love the Marines, because they were getting a terrible beating up until that time. When we went into the harbor, as young kids, we saw what you saw. How many saw Private WWII? This is what we saw in that harbor. Heads and legs and what happened. They created a killing field, as I mentioned, as soon as our boys got on the beach. Marine morale was dead low. And we were watching the Marines with those flamethrowers going from tunnel to tunnel. And then watch a Marine fall between tunnels. And then all of a sudden, that flag went up. I was 19. I was 19 in all my battles. I was 19 when that beautiful flag went up on Mount Suribachi. This was my 5th invasion. 4 in the Philippines, now Iwo Jima. I don't know why, but for the first time ever, it hit me. The love we have for the flag, willing to die for the flag, and yes, I cried. We blew ship's whistles. It's with me here, vivid today, and it's hard to talk about. But the love of that flag, with us kids 18, 19 years of age, dying, 300,000 of us never get back. 300,000 for that flag. Now we hear reports that want to do away with the flag. They want to do away with our Star-Spangled Banner. They've just about done away with their religion. This is sad. A young fellow by the name of Lucas joined the Marines at 14. Became a Medal of Honor winner on Iwo Jima. He was Medal of Honor winner in history. He jumped on a live hand grenade and it exploded. They left him for dead, his bodies. That night the body pickers came along picking up bodies. And my Lord, he was alive. They sent him to Saipan. Then from there to the States, where he recovered 26 major operations and lived until recent times. Sergeant Kroll, you know, the last word on any soldier or Navy's lips when you're dying is mother. Mother. And he was screaming out, Mother, they're killing me. He's being invaded by the Japanese. Mother, they're killing me. This can be any nation, whether it be German, Japanese, America. The last words is mother. And what the war did to my mother, I surprised him. Those guys did. I didn't tell him I was coming home. I knocked on the door, and this woman answered. It wasn't my mother. It wasn't the mother I left. What that did to her. A young woman in her 30s, early 40s, full of life, full of fun, full of jokes, full of dancing. That was the first time ever I was sorry really sorry I come home. Thank you.
Well, I know that you could go on because there's 6 more you could talk about, according to the song.
I can talk until they leave and turn the lights on, so talk.
No. We have a habit of finishing pretty much on time and saying thank you. But you have all these wonderful mementos on the table. I'd like you to add one more.
Oh, my God.
Most veterans think this is the highlight of their whole career. So we'd like you to have one of our beautiful New England on table mugs.
Oh, I'll have a beer tonight.
Thank you so much. That was absolutely incredible. Not only your memory, but your
I hope you invite me back. I'd love to come back.
I will all the time.
All right.
I mean, we even bring back other pink jockeys. Why not?
Okay, all right.
So thank you, everybody. Next month.